Hi, and welcome to this segment of Assembling God's Puzzle, in which I try to share with people kind of what I've learned about how do we assemble all the pieces of our lives, all the puzzle pieces in ways that work for us, that cause us, that are more constructive and cause us less problems. And Thanksgiving is coming up, and that for most of us, that means family gatherings and family that we may not have seen too much over the past year. And family, of course, are big puzzle pieces for us. You know, we know we choose our friends, but we're stuck with our families. And a more positive way of saying that is that God has chosen our family members for us. So we don't get a choice over that. We have these family members. So what do we do with them? You know, people often come to me in counseling and describe their family in detail, and then when they get done, they say, "Am I the only one who has a crazy family?" And of course, what I usually do is I say, "Hey, don't get me started on talking about my family. You know, I could tell you stories, but it's not about me, of course, in counseling. And I'm not going to tell anything about my family here because some of them may accidentally watch this and then I would be in trouble." So, anyway, families are the same. All families are dealing with the same things. You know, you can call them crazy, or you might just say all families have to deal with the same things and they're challenging, they're difficult, and they do it the best they can usually. So that's kind of the way it is. So, what do you do with family? What do you do with families? Well, that's a big question, and I can't go into all of that here in this short video. But maybe a little bit what I could share, what I've learned about, well, just about Thanksgiving. How do you gather in ways just for that brief time of Thanksgiving um, to, how do you do that? That makes it less stressful, less anxiety producing. What do you do? You know, families a lot of times don't get together except for holidays, funerals, and weddings. And how often do those come around? So we get together on holidays and there we are with each other. Maybe we haven't talked to each other for a while. And the same issues are still there. So there we are. So what do we do? Well, first of all, for Thanksgiving or any holiday, it's good to prepare. Before you ever get in the situation of being there with your family, prepare before you go into that. You know, one thing to prepare for is, you know, to remind yourself that people, your family members, haven't changed probably over the last year. They are still the same. And they have the same issues, the same problems, the same everything. And uh, that will reduce the surprise for you. You know, you won't have to kind of say, well, what happened? Why aren't they different? Why haven't they learned? To know that, yeah, they're going to be the same, you know, uh, you know, Uncle Leo will probably drink too much, and because that's the way it's always worked. And so and so will be down on you because you know you hurt her somewhere along the line. Or Grandpa Fred will bring up touchy issues like religion or politics and try to convince people that he's right. You know, you know that those things, those types of things will happen. So be prepared. Be prepared, and to go into that knowing that you're not there to fix anything. You're not going to fix people. You're not going to get people to agree on everything. That's not the issue. Don't go into that situation thinking that, or you'll be sadly disappointed. There are times when you need to address issues, disagreements as families, but it's probably not at Thanksgiving. You know, Thanksgiving is probably a different purpose than hashing out all the differences. So just those are a couple things to be, prepared for. Also prepare that simple things may trigger big responses from different members of your family. So, somebody forgets to bring a dish that they were asked to bring for Thanksgiving. Now that can be a trigger for, big reaction, big negative reaction on some people's part because it might bring up all the past things that that person, all the past mistakes that person has made. And so it gets up, blows up into a big thing. So that might be to, remembering that might happen, to be prepared for that and what to do. And also, as you are preparing, have an action plan. What are you going to do when things happen? What are you going to do when argument comes up? What are you going to do, whatever. Have something, have a plan. You know, have a plan to, if the subject is is tearing people apart, or maybe have a plan to change the subject. What subject could you talk about that wouldn't be so divisive? Or how do you distract people from, the hot button issues? People, that's why people watch sports, I think, on holidays, because it's a distraction. It keeps the discussion to kind of a sports. Or like my family, we play games, we play cards, and that's a, kind of a group thing to do, that you're focused on the cards, you're not focused on politics or religion. Or if things get really bad, have a plan of how do you remove yourself from the situation. Do you go for a walk? Do you, what do you do? So being prepared as you go in is important. Now, when you get there, when you get into the family gathering, then there's some things you can do that kind of might make it a little bit better. Maybe you can help your family to focus on commonalities, common ground that you all share. Maybe reminiscing about old times. That's sometimes helpful, sometimes good. And that's a common ground that people, kind of like to do, different than arguing. So, and do fun stuff, plan, suggest some fun things, like I said, cards or games, or how about a family going out for a walk and around the neighborhood? Or a lot of times, Christmas lights are up at Thanksgiving already. So go for a drive and look at all the Christmas lights. Those are just kind of simple, fun things that you can do when things, are things, rather than things getting tense and divisive. So, those are some things. Uh, Also, avoid arguments as best you can. It takes two people to argue, at least two people to argue. One person can't argue. If you refuse to argue, then that person is just doing a monologue, and they may just go on, but it doesn't have to be an argument. So you can do something to prevent arguments, even if someone else wants to argue. So, don't argue. Just listen, maybe, or ask questions. Be curious about what they think, or whatever. Or again, remove yourself from the situation. Uh, Avoid excess alcohol. Alcohol really causes problems in families. It's not good. Raw feelings tend to come out, and people's judgment is clouded. And how to have those conversations, that goes out the window when alcohol is involved. So, of course, we as a culture, alcohol is part of our celebrations. So, it's a tough choice. It's a tough choice. But just know that can be the match that lights the fire of, family arguments, or whatever. Um, so those are a few of the things that, can be done to kind of situate, or do the situation that might work a little bit better for us as we gather with our families. But know that nothing's going to make it perfect. Nothing you can do or anybody in your family can do is going to make a Thanksgiving or a Christmas or a gathering wonderful or perfect. You may, uh, some of these things might make it a little bit better, if there is tension in your family. Now, if your family is perfect, as I don't think it is, but if your family is, don't have any problems with getting together, well, great. God bless you. But for those of us who do have some issues in our families, maybe some of these things can kind of help us reduce some of the stress, some of the anxiety, deal with each other in a little bit better ways that work better. And the number one thing to do, as in everything for us human beings, uh, when we're in together as a family, practice compassion and understanding. We may be from the same family. My family and I may be from the same family, but we have much different experiences of that family and much different life experiences that have had different effects on us. So to know that about each other is very important. We had different experiences growing up together. We had different relationships with our parents. How we related to our parents was different. We might have had different traumas growing up that we maybe never knew about for each other. Maybe each of us had private struggles that we never told each other and that we still don't know. Maybe that's all in there somewhere. And it's pretty unrealistic to think that I know everything about my brother or my sister or my parents because I don't. So being able to understand that and to have compassion with whatever each other is struggling with or dealing with is very important. And it has a way of bringing us together if I can kind of practice that, even in the midst of our differences. And basically, be kind. Be kind to one another. Most people, most all of us, are just kind of doing the best we can to make it in this world. So, so I hope some of these things have been helpful as you plan your Thanksgiving gathering or whatever other gatherings you have. Just know that a lot of times family relationships are difficult, but we do the best we can. So I wish you all a very good Thanksgiving.